What's going on, y'all? We are back. The Wrestling Heroes and Insiders Podcast, aka The Whip Show, on 106.1 FM, WAKT Toledo's community radio station. And right now, I have a TNA star. No, I can't say that, man. No, I have a TNA legend. No, I can't say that. I have the King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian. Kazarian, what's going on, man?
Hey man, how you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for coming on, man. And I wanted to have you on because you got a really big set of shows coming up in Minneapolis on Thursday, September 4th and September 5th. TNA Impact TV tapings, man. Now, I believe this is your first time bringing TNA to the area, or at least in a while. How does that feel?
Yeah, I've wrestled a lot in Minnesota throughout my career, but never with TNA. This is the first time, for whatever reason, that TNA is bringing our brand to Minnesota, and we're bringing live Impact this Thursday and the TV taping again Friday. So really psyched. I know there's a lot of energy in the area. People have been wanting us to come here for a long time, so I'm happy to bring TNA to the masses and happy to bring it right here to Minneapolis.
That's what's up, man. And before we go any further, I gotta ask you, what is your skin routine? How do you look so young after all these years, man?
Man, you moisturize, man. You got to moisturize. I live out in the Southern California desert. It's hot out there. You gotta keep that skin nice and smooth, and you got to find you a good moisturizer. And that's my dad told me to moisturize when I was a young man. He said always keep your face moist. You gotta skincare is everything, man. We only got one skin. We gotta take care of it forever. So that, and I guess a little bit of genetics.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Now, I let the people know, and they already know you are the king of TNA. But let's just say, for whatever reason, some mark out there didn't know why. Why do you call yourself the king of TNA?
There's so many reasons. I mean, you look at this roster and it's full of like incredible, gifted, legendary wrestlers, and I predate all of them. Nobody's been in TNA longer than I have. Nobody's done what I have in TNA. I'm part of so many firsts for this company. I was in on the ground floor. I've been here through all the stages, all the ups and downs, and for better or for worse, I am the guy. I am besides Eric Young, I'm the only other TNA original still actively doing it here. And I have risen to the ranks. I didn't just become king overnight. I was at first a loyal foot soldier and did my time in the trenches, and I've earned the right to call myself the king of TNA.
I love to hear that, man. Now, you just kind of talked about being the longest tenured person in TNA. How does that feel, man? You've seen multiple people, stars from all over the world, come in and out over the years, but you stayed loyal, man. First question, why? And two, seeing the growth of TNA to what it is now, how does that feel, man?
TNA is the first company that really gave me a break on the national scene. I've done a lot and made a pretty decent name on the independent scene and done some stuff in Japan and kind of all over Europe as far as an independent wrestler. But TNA is the first company to give me that break and put me on the national stage back in the old Asylum days and the Wednesday night pay-per-views. And I started there with a crop of legendary X Division talent. When you talk about guys like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and Chris Sabin and Low Key and Amazing Red and Jerry Lynn and Sanjay Dutt, just the list goes on and on and on. And winning my first X Division title was a huge, was huge for me. That was my first major singles title. And so like you won't be able to tell my story without talking about TNA. So that is why I'm loyal to this company, and being here still all these years later and seeing what we've become and seeing how much we're ascending and how many people are really starting to turn their eyes to see how good we are. It's I wear it all as a badge of honor, man. It's super cool.
I love to hear this, man. Now, when I ask this question, in no way, shape, or form, please don't get offended. I'm not trying to age you. I just said you were so young and vibrant. But when you hear guys come up now, Leon Slater and all these guys that said they always watched TNA coming up and they looked up to you, and now they're in the ring competing with you. How does that feel?
It's cool, man. Like, Leon Slater, that's just one example. That's a kid who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he's going to be the future of this business. He's got all the tools and then some. It's really cool because we have a generation of guys that grew up not only wrestling fans but like TNA fans specifically. So they watched those early days where I was cutting my teeth, and it's kind of surreal. It's cool. At 48 years old, man, it's cool to hear that because I feel like I'm one of them. I feel like still a 25-year-old kid. Again, that's I'm super humbled anytime uh, somebody comes up to me, especially a young wrestler, saying that I was an inspiration, that they watched me coming up and they tried to emulate my style. It's all super humbling, and it's part of the reason why I do this.
I love to hear this, man. Now, to everybody listening right now, you're hearing Kazarian. He's being such a nice guy. I don't even know where this is coming from, man. So we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna say a couple names, and I want to get some reactions out of Kazarian. The
Oh
first name
boy,
I'm gonna say, Jake something.
Jay something, man, guy uh, loaded with raw talent, size, ability, great look. I think he's just missing that one element. But Jake is a very driven guy, and I think once he finds that, it'll be very difficult to stop that guy.
Okay, okay. Steve Macklin.
Steve Macklin is a guy who's really, he's been in the game for a while, but he's really come on the scene, and people are really starting to take notice of him. Really, in the last year, I think he stepped up his game incredibly. I've Steve has been on my radar for a long time. Just a roughneck, rugged, in your face guy that will just, you know, anytime you're in there with Steve, it's a knockdown, drag out affair. A real throwback kind of wrestler. Is a tough guy, and a guy that has a lot of morals and values and principles that he stands on, and he wears it all on his sleeve. And a guy that is doing great as the first international champion.
I love to hear that, man. Now, this name here, I don't know what type of reaction I'm gonna get, but I gotta say it out. Joe Hendry. You guys
Oh
have been
man,
adversaries for the longest, man, and we'll talk to it first. Say, what do you think about Joe?
Joe Hendry. For the last better part of the last year, we've been kind of been neck and neck and have been at each other's throats. But putting all of that aside, putting all of that professional, um, you know, professional angst aside, what the rise that guy's had and just the ride he's been on has been extraordinary. To kind of, I've seen it since the beginning, since before the beginning. It's been remarkable. I don't know if it can be rivaled. Just to see how popular he got and how different it was, how organic it really was. It was good for TNA. It put a lot of eyeballs on us. It was good for the Joe Hendry brand certainly because he's you know easily recognized as the guy from TNA, the guy from NFC, the guy from WWE. Pops up everywhere. That's what he's known as, and he's worked hard and he truly deserves it. But when it comes to TNA, these are my waters, and I'm the shark swimming around, and he's just a minnow, and he needs to recognize that.
And that's what I was going to go forward with. With that being said, you've been here since day one. Do you think the people should be looking at you like that instead of Joe Hendry?
Well, I mean, sometimes people they easily forget, who brought them to the dance. They like wrestling fans sometimes get distracted by small shiny objects, and that's what I consider Joe, a small shiny object. Whereas I'm the steadfast guy that's been here since day one and is not going anywhere. The foundation, you can put a new roof on a building, nice shiny new roof, but the reason that building's standing is because it has a strong foundation, and I am that foundation, TNA.
Uh, y'all heard what the man said. He is the foundation of TNA, man. And I'm only going to have you for a few more minutes. So I want to ask another quick question.
No
Speaking
worries.
of that, and, be fully transparent with us, with such an amazing career, do you ever feel sometimes that you're still overlooked with the great as being considered one of the greats? Or do you think you get your just due?
I mean, I'll always wrestle like kind of with a chip on my shoulder. I still wrestle as if I'm a 20-year-old kid trying to get looked at by the quote unquote the big leagues. Whatever the public perception of me is, that's for the public to decide. I know I have been put in that category of underrated. And you know what? I always say it's better to be underrated than overrated. Some of my favorites, you look at guys like Bobby Eaton and Jerry Lynn and Lance Storm and Rick Rude and those type of guys, Kurt Hennig, they were always labeled as underrated. And if I'm in the company of those gentlemen, call me underrated all you want. I mean, I know what I bring to the table. It's I'm going to continue to do what I do. Whatever label you place on me, I'm happy with it.
I love to hear that, man. Now, with such an illustrious career, I know it's hard to even try to put this in words, just pick them. But if you were to say, who were three of your favorite opponents, man, that you've had?
That's really, really tough to narrow down, and it changes kind of day by day. It's hard not to include somebody obviously like an AJ Styles. It's hard not to include a Kurt Angle. I would be remiss if I didn't throw in Eddie Edwards. Those are just three guys who I have incredible chemistry with. Three guys I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Guys I learned from. Throw Christian Cage into that mix, and obviously, Chris Daniels and Samoa Joe. There's so many. It's just, trying to think of the three that come to the top of my head right now. I've been blessed to have a very long career and to have had some matches with some of the very best that have ever, been in the professional wrestling industry.
For sure. Now, I saw an interview you did a while back, kind of the reason you came back to TNA and everything. You still have never won the big one, the TNA World Championship. Is it your time, man? Are you ready to put the whole thing on your back?
It's certainly my time. I've made no bones about that. That's why I came back to TNA. It's about the TNA World title this time. And like I said at the start of last year, it's about time for me to be selfish and me to focus on just that and getting that title by any means necessary. And I want to be the guy that leads this company into the next year, into the next 5 years, into the next 10 years as its champion and bring TNA to new heights.
Okay. Now, last question here, man.
Yes,
And it's more of a statement. You see it. NXT and TNA, the collaboration. You guys are also partnering with like Fourth Rope Wrestling and things like this. The world is on notice right now for TNA. But with that being said, it's an outsider. Got the title, man. Seriously, it's an outsider got the title. How does that make you feel, man? Do you feel like seriously, how does that make you feel?
like I said when it happened, there's one man to blame for that, and one man only, and that's Joe Hendry. Had I been TNA World Champion, had I not gotten screwed out of that title at Rebellion this year, there's no way I would have ever let Trick Williams pin me. And that's no disrespect to Trick. In fact, I take my hat off to Trick because he came in and he took the title off of our guy. And it sucks, but it's a reality we have to live with. But that is the fault of Joe Hendry. That would never have happened on my watch. But that title's not going to be on an outsider forever, especially if I have my say, especially if I ever get the opportunity to wrestle Trick for that title. Let's just keep it at that.
For sure. Now, I know I said that was the last question, but there's one more little thing I like to do before we get out of here.
Yeah.
We're going to shift a little bit. We're going to change gears. I call this segment the mark out moment. And when I say that, I'm not saying that you go screaming like a little child or you're like, oh my God. But even though you're Frankie Kazarian, that one moment that you're like, man, I can't believe this is my life. Whether you wrestled in front of 100,000 people, whether you were at an event, a celebrity noticed you, something that was just like an out-of-body experience for you, that even you were like, yo, this is really cool. Frankie Kazarian, what would be your mark out moment?
I'll tell you this. It's I guess we can call it a mark out moment, but for me, it's a moment of validation. This was years ago. There was a pay-per-view I was on, a big pay-per-view, and I had come in the back and I looked at my phone, and I had two text messages. Both text messages said, something basically the same thing, like, "Hey, that was a hell of a match, great show, great work." Those two text messages, one was from Ric Flair.
Wow.
The other was from Stone Cold Steve Austin. And those two guys texted me just out of the blue to say great match. and it was one of those things. I just kind of looked at my phone and set it down and was like, you know what? For anyone that's going to hate on me or say anything negative about me, it'll never bother me from this day forward because that's all the validation I need. Like those, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than those two guys going out of their way to tell me that I did great work. Uh, you can call that a markout moment, but for me, it was really like, wow, this is. If you would have told 10-year-old me that, I would have. I don't know if I would have believed you. So that was a super cool moment, and we can call that my markout moment, man.
That's so dope right there, man. Did y'all
Yeah.
hear that, man? Make sure y'all clip this up. Make sure y'all share that part right there, man. And Kazarian, real quick before we get out of here, let people know in Minneapolis why they should come to this event.
First time in Minnesota. TNA brings an incredible live show for sure, especially being live on Access and on the TNA Plus app this Thursday. It's our roster, our men and women are putting on some of the best shows in the entire industry right now. And it's our first time here. You don't want to miss being part of that first time. There's only one chance to make a first impression. It's this Thursday. If you can't make it Thursday, check us out Friday because we're doing television tapings then as well. But we're clicking on all cylinders. You never know who's going to show up from NXT. You never know what's going to happen. It's a wild environment. We got Bubba, we got Bully and Devon here this week. The Hardys. It's going to be a party. It's going to be action packed. Don't be left out, man. Don't miss it. Come see your king.
You guys heard it, man. Yo, is that Chris Bey on your shirt?
That's Chris Bey. Got to represent my boy Chris Bey, man. Got
You
to
want to say a
represent.
word out to Chris Bey real quick?
Oh yeah, dude, Chris Bey. Everybody knows his story by now. I mean, I'm so, I'm so honored to call him a friend. I'm so happy with how he's doing physically. I had no doubt in my mind, just knowing the guy, knowing the strength he brings, and one of my very favorite people, and just a guy that it's the greatest story ever told. That's what the shirt says. And when Chris Bay's story is told, it's going to be the greatest story that's ever told. And always shouting out my man Chris Bey.
That's what's up, man. Kazarian, thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed yourself here today, man. You guys heard him. Make sure you come out to these shows, man. First time in Minnesota. Be there. TNA. Get your tickets, man. We'll be back. The Wrestling Heroes and Insiders Podcast, a.k.a. The Whip Show, on 106.1 FM, WAKT Toledo's community radio station.